Our next inductee this evening, representing Baylor football, Mark Cochran. Mark Cochran, Baylor football, 1983 to 1985. Cochran, a part of two bowl teams during his Baylor tenure, was a three-year starter for the Bears at offensive guard and tackle, and was twice named the team's most outstanding offensive lineman. He was a first-team unanimous All-Southwest Conference pick as a senior in '85, and the only player awarded a game ball for a 9-win season that ended with a win over LSU in the Liberty Bowl. Named to Baylor football's all-decade team for the '80s, Cochran was an undrafted free agent who played 3 games in 1987 with the Bill Walsh-coached San Francisco 49ers. Returning to Baylor to earn his master's degree in education, he worked with the YMCA organization for 24 years and has been a regional director for Samaritan's Purse since 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Baylor Athletics Hall of Fame, Mark Cochran.
Thank you very much. It is, if I was to say this is an incredibly humbling honor, it is exactly that. But thank you, Coach Rhodes. Thank you, committee. Thank you, Coach Wetzel. I want to thank Walter Abercrombie also, long-time service to the B Association. I'm grateful for his work that he's done there. Also, special thanks to John and Mark Addix. Mark Addix, he's the best offensive lineman to ever don a jersey at Baylor. And also, special thanks to Coach Taff, and I'll talk a little bit more about him later. But this is a really special experience and a tremendous honor to share with my family. My wife Starla's here, who I met at Baylor. My girls Katie, Callie, Courtney, and Kinsey. Part of my testimony, if you do not believe that God has a sense of humor, I have 4 daughters. But they are a blessing. My newest son-in-law, Brady's here. Blake, my first son-in-law, serves with Every Village and is in South Sudan as we speak. So he could not be here this evening. But Navy, my 1-year-old granddaughter, is here, first one, and that is a treat. My pastor's here. Pastor Larry, thank you very much for coming. I'm glad that your wife, Vicki, her green and gold rubbed off on you. I'd also like to thank Team Central of Samaritan's Purse Donor Ministry. They shocked me by showing up, one coming from Wisconsin. What a treat. I even have a teammate from Utah here, so what a blessing it is. Also, I want to thank Coach Dry. Coach Dry was my offensive line coach my junior and senior year. He is 92 years old, and he was trying really hard to get here, and he just couldn't make it. But I also want to thank Coach Taff, which I owe a lot to him, and I'll talk to him in a minute. I also want to mention my dad. I wish my dad could be here to see this evening. He was one of those guys, if you were playing, he's your best supporter, and he is your biggest supporter. My sisters, my cousins, me, it didn't matter who it was, he was your biggest fan. And let me tell you, when I decided to go to Baylor, he was all in. He was a season ticket holder from 1981 to 2016 when he could not physically go to the games anymore. But he was a big fan. Well, you know, this honor almost never happened. I almost never came to Baylor. A funny story, when I was being recruited as a senior in high school, you could take 6 visits. Well, I had 5 planned, and I didn't have any more weekends left before signing date. And Coach O'Hara recruited the Houston area for Coach Taff, longtime assistant. He was trying really hard to get me to come to Waco, and I said, Coach, I don't have any more weekends before signing date. He said, well, why don't you come during the week? Now, that may be something that's common now. Back then it wasn't common. He said, talk to your head coach, which I did, and he said, absolutely, I'll take care of it, you go. So I came on a Wednesday. I met Coach Taff at Hobby Airport on the Baylor plane. Now, I don't know about the Baylor plane now, but the Baylor plane back then was very small. I mean, very small. Now, you got to realize the first time I'd ever been on a plane was 2 weeks earlier than that, going to Dallas to visit SMU. So I was a little nervous. And I think the pilot felt like he had to say something when he comes walking back to where Coach Taff and I are talking, because my eyes were probably as big as saucers seeing the pilot come back to where we were. He assured me that everything was okay. Had a great visit. Randy Grimes, one of the Hall of Famer, showed me around. One of the very most unique things that I remember, coming during the week, you got to see Baylor being Baylor. Kids were going to class, everybody's moving around, not like on the weekends. And I thought it was very, it just moved me, because people stop and talk to you, and I didn't even know these people. And I thought, wow, this is an amazing thing. So meet with Coach Taff Friday morning. Told him this is where I need to be. I need to be a Baylor Bear. He said, great, verbally committed. Now that weekend, this was Friday, and Friday afternoon I was supposed to be in Austin visiting Texas. And he said, do you still want to go on that visit? And I said, Coach, I just want to go see it. He said, don't let Coach Akers talk you out of that commitment. And I said, promise you, Coach, this is where I'm coming. This is Coach Taff. He had one of his assistants drive me from the coach's office in Waco to the coach's office at UT and drop me off on the front door. And I thought, wow, I am coming to the right place. Anyway, that was a great story. But that was really the beginning of the Lord's plan with me being here and being in Waco and being where I needed to be. But I will have to say that I'm gonna talk real quickly. Bryce, you talked about highlights. I'm going to talk to you about some highlights that only the guys on these tables over here will remember, because you guys weren't born yet. Some fun football facts. 1983, we opened the season, BYU came to Waco. That was my first game to start. Back then it was a shootout. Don't think it's much of a shootout these days. It was 40-36, but we won. Now, two things that stood out about that, only Coach Taff would do this. He had Cody Carlson, who's here, and Tom Mickey bring in the plays. Back then, you had a player, a receiver, or somebody brought in the plays. You didn't have all this fancy stuff. We did it by quarterback. Cody be in the huddle one play, Tom Mickey be in the huddle the next play. It worked, and we won. The other cool thing about that was BYU went to run the table in 83, didn't lose another game, won all of them in 84, and won the national championship. So every time they played for 2 football seasons, the last time they got beat was by the Baylor Bears. We played a ranked Arkansas, Lou Holtz coached Arkansas team in Fayetteville, won 24-21. But as an offensive lineman, I'll tell you what was sweet about that game. The shortest touchdown drive was 89 yards. Our defense stuffed them on a 4th and goal, and I remember walking by the ball to huddle up because we took possession. That ball was like 2 inches from the goal line, and we took it to the house all the way. Great experience. UT that year. Now, UT was ranked number 2. We didn't care. We went and we, in a good old football terminology, we punched them in the mouth. And I'm telling you, we scored with in the 4th quarter, make it 24-17, and 90,000 in Memorial Stadium got quiet. Got really quiet. Now that defense that we played against is still touted as one of the best defenses in college football, and they were number 2 in the country. A few months later, number 1 lost. They knew that while they were playing in the Cotton Bowl, they were a Georgia punt return away from being national champions, and we went toe to toe. 84, great year. We were just a couple games shy of making a bowl game. But I have to tell you, 84, most unusual thing, we had 2 back-to-back games against the Houston Cougars and against the Aggies that were torrential downpours. Now I mean, you could not, we lost several series of plays because you couldn't see from the press box to the field. You couldn't see. It was white. It was raining so hard. But I have to admit, one of the pregame speeches by Coach Christian, our offensive coordinator, before we walk out on the field against the Aggies, he said, "I heard this song this morning. I'm so excited, I just can't hide it." And I'm thinking, Donna Summer, you're bringing Donna Summer. We're getting ready to go out and play the Aggies. I got to go head-to-head and butt heads with Ray Childress, All-American, number 3 pick in the draft. And you're giving me Donna Summer. I'm so excited, I just can't hide it. Woo. 85 was a special year, real quick. Man, we had a great team, 84, 85. Played Georgia between the hedges, second game, lost 17-14. Had plenty of chances to win that ball game. We didn't have time to think about that one because the next week we were going to the Coliseum to play the mighty Trojans, who were number 3 in the country. And we punched them in the mouth. It was great. We won that game, amazing game. We got up to number 8 that year in the country, played Arkansas, tough loss to Texas. So we ended up playing an LSU team in the Liberty Bowl who just missed the Sugar Bowl. And I have to tell you a funny story before I close, and that is it was middle of the week. We're preparing for this bowl game, and I remember the alarm going off. And I'm hitting the alarm in the hotel room, and it ain't going off. My roommate jumps up and says, "Turn that off." And I said, "I'm trying." He said, "Oh, no." And at that time, you could hear people scrambling in the hallway. It was the fire alarm at 2 a.m. So we run downstairs. Now, the entire hotel, coaches, staff, I saw John here in a fashionable hotel blanket in the parking lot. We were all in the parking lot. Now, coaches convened right after that because the coast was clear. And come to find out, Coach Pete Frenberg stood up and said, "Whoever is involved in this, going home on a bus tonight." He was angry. Coach Taft said, "Well, it was John Simpson, a receiver." He said, "Send him home on the bus." Well, All-American linebacker Ray Berry was with him. Well, let's think about this a minute before we jump to any conclusions. Spoken like a true defensive coordinator. Anyway, listen, I am so blessed to be up here. Great teammates here, friends, special friends here. And I'm here to tell you about a special coach, Coach Taft. Coach Taft gave us an opportunity to play against the best in college football. He strived every day to make sure we were the best. But more importantly than that, he taught us how to be men of integrity, men of character, men of faith. I am a believer today because of Coach Taft. Pre-game speeches. I mean, he walked the talk every single day. I never heard a pre-game speech in my 5 years at Baylor that did not involve a person or a story from the Bible. He related that to what we were getting to walk into in that stadium. Unbelievable. Man of great character and great faith. And I appreciate him dearly. I used to say of him when I first got out of school that he was a coach that could have been a pastor. I changed that very quickly and said he's a pastor that's a football coach. Because he shepherded us as men. Love him for that. I was not a member of a fraternity on campus, but I am so blessed and honored to be a member of the 120-man Baylor football fraternity. Teammates for life, friends for life. Thank you very much. May the Lord bless you.